Good evening. For the last time in this series, a sad occasion for us all. Except, perhaps, Mrs. Hilda Gronk of 3 Ironside Villas, Scunthorpe. The old thing. I pray her wooden leg collapses under her when there's a carpenter's strike on. I hope her ginger Tom sits on a plate of boiling mustard and burns his kitty cat. And again, I hope all our 169 Pakistani lodgers break out of their cupboard, run downstairs and bottle their gooseberries and curry powder. And as for that flea-ridden mongrel who sniffs things he shouldn't, I hope he goes deaf and then goes balmy trying to hear himself bark. Otherwise, I wish her well. And now, letters to answer. To the lady in Bath who owns a Jewish salmon. I think it's certainly a feeble joke that the fish in the lake should call your salmon Blackstone. Try moving them to a better class river or joke. Now I think I'll sit back and wait for Mrs. Hilda Gronk to jam the BBC switchboard. And while I'm waiting, let us see what our dear ballet correspondent Eric Badger has to say. Eric?
Bonsoir, Ballet-to-main. You know, sometimes towards the end of the season, I feel that if I see just one more classical ballet, I shall scream. I get to the stage when I want to drain Swan Lake, put a match to the Firebird, and give an overdose to the Sleeping Beauty. Yes, but the latter does afford us all a chance to see 2 of our favourite dancers, Alice Tumbleover and Serge Trouserin. Now, Alice Tumbleover must be the world's most experienced Sleeping Beauty, though to preserve the illusion that she's still a 16-year-old girl, one is obliged to reverse one's opera glasses. And I did hear that at the last performance, the prince was unable to raise her with the customary kiss. Fast asleep. Now, Serge Trouserin plays the part of the wicked Caraboss so brilliantly that one really believes that he is a vicious old fairy. Especially when he disappears in a puff of smoke. And what he does with the spinning wheel at the end of Act 2 never ceases to amaze me. Or him. Yes, you know, I think there is a great case, or great argument, in favour of classical ballet. And here, to give it weight, our tumble-over and partner in an excerpt from Giselle. The Dutch dairy cheese board on which I sat with the greatest difficulty in 1967 is manufacturing, and I quote, cheese of an elastic nature. Now, nothing is more absurd than a large gob confronted with a little bit of grotty cheese like this. Doesn't go anywhere. No, now comes the answer. The new expanding Dutch cheese to fit any size gob. And now, here is an advertisement.
Mrs. Poltergeist and Polter will move your furniture for you.
Oh, and now here is another.
This week's holiday bargain, 17 sun-drenched days in Bootle. 4pence deposit and 5 years to pay.
Whilst on a brass rubbing tour of the Gaubles recently, I came across this moss-covered epitaph. Here lays an unpopular harpist who, whilst playing Beloved Forget, was hit on the head by a cellist. His last words, "Hail cello, well met." Now here is an old Sudanese proverb, so old it's bald.
He is a too hasty traveller who burns the camel at both ends.
But enough of this unrestrained Arab merriment. Now here is an item from this morning's paper. When found that the border between Devon and Cornwall ran through the middle of a house, it was ruled that the occupants' rates must be divided equally between the 2 counties. It was then discovered a very tall Irish dustman was sleeping with his head in Devon and his feet in Cornwall. Now, to avoid paying double rates, he pushed the bed out of Devon and slept with his skipper sticking out the window, thus remaining entirely in Cornwall. But it was pointed out that although he slept completely in Cornwall, when he visited the loo at night, he had to nip across into Devon. And that's where they got him. They cut his water off. Steady now. He fled to his native island, but the bailiffs followed him, burst open the door shouting, "Open an error." He now sleeps standing up in a Dublin chimney, waiting to be saved by the Irish sweep. Now, Kinema, Mervyn Glue reports.
And this is Mervyn Glue reporting. Tonight, Kinema explores in depth the making of Hollywood producer Sol Hogwash's latest multi-million-dollar epic based on the life of the Bronte sisters. Here is a recording of Sol Hogwash in Hollywood talking about the picture. Come in, Mr. Hogwash.
This picture is gonna be a biggie, and we got a great cast lined up. Charlotte is being played by Raquel Welch, The Dying Emily by Vera Lynn, and for Anne, we are hoping to secure the services of your very own Princess Margaret. Bramwell, the drunken piano-playing brother, is being played by the great Schnozzle Durante. And there will be many guest appearances by such all-time greats as Sandy Shore, Dick Jagger, both of the Beatles, and Colin Cowdrey. The story basically revolves around a little-known incident of the girl's life in Moscow, which gives the picture its title, Charlotte Ruski.
That was recorded some time ago. Since then, the picture has run into, unfortunately, a little trouble. The problem started when Mr. Hogwash wanted to liven up the picture by introducing more action. He made sequences showing the destruction of Pompeii, a chariot race, the coronation of the Tsar, and a jungle sequence featuring a fight between an alligator and an elephant. Then he met his first real snag.
Good morning, boss.
Hey there, Steenbeck, the Rushes.
Great, just great, Sol. But we got here a tiny problem. The Brontes haven't made an appearance yet.
The who?
The Brontes.
What are the Brontes?
The Bronte sisters. Charlotte, Emily, and Annie. The ones what the picture is about.
Well, if they're screwing the picture, do we have to have the Brontes at all?
But you announced it, Sol. A monument to 3 British kids what gave their lives to literature.
Well, can't they black up and be ancient Egyptian kids or Chinese slave girls or something? We can change the publicity. 3 great spade chicks who gave their lives for literature.
But Sol, the Brontes were real women. They actually existed.
They were? Yeah, you're putting me on.
Oh, I'm your brother-in-law. I should put you on.
Real chicks, huh? Okay, I'll buy that. Get me Carl Kleinschmidt to write a scene, okay?
But Mr. Kleinschmidt was not available, and so an English writer was flown in from Rome to script the appropriate scene.
Happy birthday, everybody!
Oh, Emily, Branwell has been drinking heavily again.
Yes, Charlotte. Oh, alas, poor soul, he suffers. Oh, Charlotte, how he suffers.
We all suffer, Emily, but we have the consolation of our writing. Is that not so, Anne?
Yes, Charlotte, we all suffer, but we do have the consolation of our writing. Hark, how the wind blows over the moors.
Poor Branwell.
Father must not know.
Oh, how the wind blows over the moors.
Poor Branwell.
Mr. Hogwash did not find that scene intellectually satisfying. As he commented at the time,
"It stinks!"
Quite. Mr. Hogwash's team of researchers then investigated the story of the Bronte sisters more extensively and discovered that all 3 met an early death. Bearing in mind that Jimmy Schnozzle Durante was to play the part of the brother Branwell, Mr. Hogwash himself personally rewrote the scene in his own inimitable style.
Gee, look at the time. Where's that bum Bramwell?
Yeah, he should have shown a half hour ago.
Yeah. Well, let's go and see what's cooking on the moors.
But I've got to finish Jane Eyre in Petty Point first.
Oh, can it? Let's go.
Well, okay, sister.
Hey, on, imagine what's cool.
attitude is bad for a man of my sensitivity. I know what I'll do. I'll sit down at the piano and I'll play me a tune. That ain't a piano. That ain't a piano. That's a piano. Who knows, my career may rise to new wuthering heights. Oh, Emily, Charlotte, and Annie. 3 little sisters divide. They can write, but they don't play the piano. 'Cause that's a prerogative of mine. They don't drink either. Fancy waking up in the morning knowing that's as good as you're gonna feel all day. It's humiliating. So, Emily, Charlotte, and Annie. Sad, but it ain't long for this way. Pretty bro, those pretty chicks are gonna meet their fate. One by one they're gonna knock upon that pearly gate. And when you gotta go, you gotta go. It's obligatory. And each one of them's got $15 inside their drawers. Who said you can't take it with you? So, Emily, Charlotte, and Annie, it's the Bronte sisters show. Emily says to me, Bramble, have you put the cat out? I said, why? Is it on fire? Bronte sisters show. Everybody's quiet.
This cleared up the plot as far as Mr. Hogwash was concerned. Next morning, he held another meeting with his faithful assistant, Steenbeck.
Well, what do you think, Charlie?
Great soul, just great. It's got soul.
Right, so, right. Now we got rid of the brunt, we can get on with the picture. I see the scene in which a hide of buffalo destroys the rectory. Then we bring in the entire Boston Pops Orchestra, crashing into the 1812 overture, which takes us to St. Petersburg on the eve of the revolution. That'll grab the bombs. You read me, Charlie?
Like your sister's bank book, I read you, Saul.
And we read you too, Saul. From Kinema, we wish Mr. Hogwash all the success he deserves. This has been Mervyn Glue.
And if you think that's far-fetched, you obviously haven't seen Harry Seacombe's inside leg measurement. A natural break. Ooh, didn't hurt.
The start of Wimbledon fortnight. There in the centre court stands handsome Jack Smellingham Cartwright, his muscles and racket taut. But sneering as our hero runs to the net. The reason is plain. Jack's not wearing a thoroughgrip garteret.
Yes, when you're banging away on the baseline, it's game, set, and match to the man wearing thread golds. They improve your service and give your socks athletic support.
Thread goes thoroughgrip, thread goes thoroughgrip, thread goes thoroughgrip garterets.
Right, now say ah. Hold it. Fred Dapson, whose attempt last year to swim the channel while pushing a lawnmower ended in failure, is to walk backwards on a tightrope across the Thames at Gravesend. A pianist who bit a London telephone directory in two to impress his dentist has won a darts competition at Salford. It's time I consulted Dr. Rubal. Doctor?
What? Oh, well?
My house is overrun with mice. Last week, a whole herd of them rushed across our sitting room floor, pinning the cat against the wall. As a supporter of the RSPCA, what should I do?
That depends whose side you're on, the cat or the mice. Next.
My husband is a snorter as well as a snorer, and when he's dozing by the fire, it's difficult to tell whether he's snoring or whether it's snorting, and he doesn't know which it is either.
What on earth does it matter, woman? Neither activity has any constructive purpose. Treat them both with equal disdain. Next.
I'm continually being rung up by a friend who bores me to death with his stupid talk. Now, how can I stop him?
Pick up the phone and say very coldly, I'm afraid the exchange has given you the right number. Then ring off and leave him to think it over. Next.
My husband washes his face in the morning with his hat on. Do you think this is a good example for the children?
No.
Not unless he washes his hat at the same time.
My husband, when in a gay mood, undoes his waistcoat and twangs his braces with both hands. He calls this his violin concerto, but it gets on our nerves. What should we do?
Look, have a family whip round and buy him a belt. Or an assisted passage to Australia. Better still, I'll go to Australia and leave you simpering morons to your own devices. Good night. No. Look, what's your problem?
My wife.
Yes, go on.
Well, that's all. Just my wife.
Well, hard luck. Good night.
Listen to this. The population of the village of Frills in Dorset have been voted the ugliest people in the world. Last year they had 3 beauty contests and nobody won it. A complaint. A man writes, "Dear sir, recently I saw a British railway sign saying, this weekend, why not buy an excursion ticket to the New Forest and get the smell of trees? I bought a ticket and I've been sniffing it for 3 months and I still can't smell any trees." With us now is Madeleine Sponge Fittering, the society columnist of the glossy magazine Her Majesty. She's going to give us some hints on etiquette, and I'm going off to be sick.
Thanks awfully. Well, hello. When I first here is an answer to a letter from my postbag from Clara of Stir in the World. Now, you see here, your mother doesn't like your new boyfriend singing raga songs at the dining table. Well, I would suggest that he audition for the Royal Philharmonic, because they're short of good raga singers there. And now, girls, some hints on cocktail parties. Should you happen to drop a lit cigarette on an expensive carpet, immediately stamp on it. And now, of course, there's always the bore at any party. Well, before he can really get wound up, coming quickly with, "Whatever happened to Lillian Gish?" That's bound to stop him dead in his tracks. Oh, and do be careful what you eat at cocktail parties. It can be frightfully embarrassing asking your hostess, "Sweetie, was there a cocktail stick in that last sausage I had?" And finally, do remember, gentlemen always prefer and praise women for their virtue, but they dislike it when they try to keep it. Oh, that's all for tonight. Bye-bye.
At this stage, we were supposed to have heard from our surfing expert, Christopher Wave. Unfortunately, he went to a board meeting, sank, and was sent to the breakers. Surfs him right. Instead, try this on for size.
Give me a return ticket, please.
Where to, sir?
Back here, you fool.
It's nice to hear them again, isn't it? Now, today, a man left a window box full of earth to the National Trust for Posterity. He claimed that at one time there was a herd of deer on it. And when asked what happened to them, he replied, "They fell off." And now, a barrow poet has written what is possibly the shortest poem on record. It's called "The Arrow in the Throat," and it goes...
Hello! Testimonials to the quality of Snibbo, the wonder unguent, continue to pour in. Yes, it is without doubt Britain's leading aid to glamour. But let Marjorie Bucktooth tell you in her own words.
I was on the verge of the sack here at the airport until a friend of mine whispered something to me that was to change my whole life.
Muddy skin. Think why passengers shun you and flock round my cubicle. You need Snibbo.
I took her advice. Snibbo, night and morning. 2 weeks later, passengers intending to fly to Paris or Amsterdam were booking to Karachi or Samarkand just because I asked them. Oh, and I'm engaged too. Thanks to Snibbo.
And here's another testimonial, this time to Snibbo's slimming power, from Mrs. Elfrida Whygrass
A year ago, I was so huge, I got stuck in our front door, and the fire brigade had to hack me free. Yesterday, after 2 weeks of snibble, my husband, in blowing out the candle by our bedside, blew me clean out of bed.
That's what I call a good blowout. Yes, snibble. Nature's way to domestic happiness and a new life for your dog.
Use snibble.
Shakespeare described us as a band of brothers. Well, here's one of the boys in the band, Roland Milk-esque.
I call this little contribution By the Lake's Misty Marge, and I think you'll find in it a touch of the cynicism that so mars our time. By the lake's misty marge I met a swan, and murmured, "Regal bird, float on, float on." Instead of floating on, the regal bird knocked me into the water without a word.
If lovers of poetry are quick, they can catch him as he leaves by the back door. Roland Milk, born the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th of September 1931. Started life as Rin Tin Tin. At the age of 4, he showed signs of genius, so the family clubbed together to send him to Leipzig, Rome, or Berlin, or Paris, or anywhere. He left home to seek adventure. Mother left a light burning in the window for him. Nothing much happened except the house burnt down. And here's another old urgent joke. It says, elephant to mouse, you're very small. Mouse to elephant, yes, I've been ill. And now back to the Sudan for another proverb.
He is a wise traveller who has a date at an oasis.
Thank you for nothing. Now, here is a news item. A parsnip 3.5 foot long won a silver cup at Lidford, that's all. And now a reading. I see a tall, dark... No, I don't. It's Dr. Strabismus, whom God preserve of Utrecht. What are you doing in there?
I'm trying to show. No bananas trim. A knuddle black, lips nose crumbs. Oh! Good evening. Continuing my experiments in testing the old proverbs, tonight let us consider this old and true saying.
Hey gear, hey name, time's hot and aim's gun.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what this means. Therefore, I cannot continue with my experiment. Nevertheless, let us press on and hear an old time-honored proverb, which was last year given the MBE. Never mind about the proverb, baby.
That would be a very good one.
Get hold on.
Okay, beautiful. I think that's beautiful.
Just quiet now. That's not good there. No, you can't take pictures like this.
All right.
Okay. You get the sound? Try and catch the full dynamic sound effect. And you, personally, I want you to stand over here. Move further up. Lift it up, baby. Now then, today we're going to take this is the proverb. It is no use crying over spilled milk. Together now? No use crying over spilled milk. Right? What's that? Right. Shut up!
It's no use. It's no use. It's no use. It's no use crying over milk. Spilled milk. Take one.
Oh, I am lurking, as you can see, in this obscure doorway in the interest of science. Sooner or later, someone must approach with milk. When they do, we immediately go to plan A. If nobody comes by with the milk, we go to plan B, which is to die of starvation. Someone approaches. So good. It is I'm a small person with a milk. Oh, hello, Sonny. Let me take that silly milk and drop it on the ground for you. Don't miss any of this glass. Pick it up on the microphone. Oh, that kind of stuff.
Don't take on, sir. Yes, we'll now have this. And cheer up. Don't cry.
Don't cry? What do you mean, don't cry? What is this, Heiner? Stop crying. Cut.
Cool, that's a bit of luck. It was only tin milk to poison our pussycat with.
Well, this proves conclusively that there are certain occasions on which it is more profitable to cry over spilt milk. And now is one of them. Come, lads, to the pub, huh?
There was a collision last night in Bond Street when a car driven by the Commissioner of Police struck another car driven by the Inspector General of Scotland Yard, who had just crashed into a police car, which in turn had collided with a constable's bike. The police say, will anyone who witnessed the accident keep their mouths shut? What can I add? 2 and 2 are 4. Try it yourselves. Good night.